Brother Travis.
I'm Brother Jim.
And we're going to run back through Joshua, and we're just going to highlight or talk about the highlighted points that we thought was very, very meaningful to us, and what we liked about Joshua and stuff like that.
And mind you, this will continue Joshua from the first chapter to chapter 7, and that's where we'll leave off for tonight. But we're going to go through the first 7 chapters of Joshua and just run it through. So real quick, before we get into Joshua, Travis, could we give us a quick rundown of how we got to Joshua?
Well, Brother Jim, it's kind of funny you say that, because I've always heard the first part of the story about Moses and how he led, the people out of Israel and all the 7 plagues and stuff like that. I mean, not to name them all, but just to name a few. You got the locusts, you got the frogs, you got the Nile. It turned into blood, and if you understand, the Nile River was, oh my gosh, it was their holy water, pretty much.
Sacred water.
Sacred water. And the fact that God had turned the river, and the Nile River, into blood just kind of creeped everybody out.
And here we go. We got the plagues here. We got the plagues of blood, frogs,
and
flies, livestock.
So
bales, boils.
I've always wanted to hear the second part of that story. And Joshua is the second part of Exodus, if you will.
Sure.
Because it's talking about how Moses thought of Joshua as his assistant. So he is commonly referred to as Moses' assistant.
Okay.
And Joshua. And I just want to hear the second part of the story. And I like the fact that that God opened the gates of this book, saying, "Be strong, be courageous."
Right.
You have anything to add?
And actually, yeah, and when we go through chapter 1, verse 18, it says, "Whoever rebels against your word and does not obey your words, whatever you may command them, will be put to death. Only be strong and courageous." So right out of the gate at the end of the first chapter in Joshua, we start into how Lord commands Joshua that, hey, you're the right-hand man. You're next in line, man.
You're it, buddy.
It's you, man.
Whether you like it or not, you're it.
And you got to take these people through Jericho, which we'll talk about soon.
Sure.
And then we'll have to go through Ai. And
which
those
we'll definitely talk about soon. 2
cities, 2 towns that he takes over in 2 different ways.
Exactly. So, now, before we talk about Jericho,
sure,
we have Rahab and the spies.
Okay.
You remember that?
Right.
How Rahab hid the spies for Joshua, so the guards of the city could not find them or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they passed through the city or whatnot,
Rahab
allowed them to escape off into the mountainside. And she says toward the end of that chapter, let me go ahead and read that.
Sure.
I think she says, they said to Joshua, or what is it? She said something to Joshua, or the 2 men saying, agreed, she applied, but let it be as you say it. So she sent them away as they departed. So what she had said is you have to, I'm doing this for you, but you have to spare me and my family. Well, I mean, and back then, prostitute was a job kind of a thing, but that's what she was.
Yeah.
But she had a family that she wanted to keep safe. So she told the spies, since I've done this for you, you have to now do something for me.
Kind of like a collateral thing,
Yeah.
What I do for you, you do for me.
Exactly. I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Sure.
So with that being said, she said, protect me and my family, for I have protected you guys. And she's like, all right. They're like, all right, that's fine. We can do that. And then chapter 3 and 4
We're starting to
goes
talk about
into
crossing the Jordan.
Crossing the Jordan, right?
So this is where Joshua tells the priests to to take up the Ark of the Covenant and pass it ahead of the people. So when they're crossing the Jordan, that the priests are the first one there with the covenant. And this is a test of faith.
Sure.
For them, for saying, God said, step out to the water.
Now, if you remember, in Exodus, didn't God part the Red Sea?
Sure did.
Kind of the way he parted the Jordan for Joshua and the Israelites?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay.
A little bit different, but still it's the same. You can see the same kind of thing.
Similarities.
Right.
Right.
And then it goes from there
to chapter 5, and it's talking about circumcision at Gilgal. Now, I'm not going to go into that at all. I mean, you guys know that when you're a kid and you go to the doctor, like the couple of first days that you're alive, you have a procedure done to you in a specific area called circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to go into that, and if you want to look it up, on your own time, feel free. Now, also in the same chapter, remember I said we were going to talk about the fall of Jericho, or you said we were going to talk about the fall of Jericho?
Right, and that's
in the middle of 5, what happens?
In the middle of 5, this is where basically Joshua is commanded to set up with some people to actually go and set up around camp outside of Jericho. And this starts out there, and this is a message from the Lord that is sent to Joshua. So, and then it goes into chapter 6, and that's where it really gets into the fall of Jericho and how he has his troops and everybody basically surrounding that city. So what we can do, we'll start from there. We're going to start reading for chapters. We're going to read the fall of Jericho. So it's going to start in verse 13, chapter 5, verse 13, and then it's going to continue through chapter 6. So we'll start with that. Would you like to read that for us?
I can do that. Everyone turn your Bibles to Joshua 5:13. That's where we're going to start this evening. And it's called, the topic is called the fall of Jericho. Now, when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down on the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Would you like to continue?
Sure. Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. No one went out, and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in the front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast of the trumpet, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, every man straight in." So Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and have 7 priests carry the trumpets in front of it." And he ordered the people, "Advance, march around the city, with the armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord." When Joshua had spoken into the people, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets before the Lord went forward, blowing their trumpets, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed them. The armed guard marched ahead of the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard followed the ark. All this time the trumpets were sounding. But Joshua had commanded the people, "Do not give a war cry, do not raise your voices, do not say a word until I tell you to shout. Then shout." So he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city, circling it at once. Then the people returned to the camp and spent the night there. I'll pick that up with you, Jake.
Okay. Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests took the ark of the Lord, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets went forward, marching before the ark of the Lord and blowing the trumpets. The armed men went ahead of them, and the rear guard followed the ark of the Lord, while the trumpets kept sounding. So on the 2nd day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day, they got up daybreak and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner, except on that day they circled the city 7 times. The 7th time they sounded the time around when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded his people, "Shout! For the Lord has given you this city, and the city and all it was in it are to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab and the prostitute and all who were with her in her house shall be spared, because she hid the spies we sent. Keep away from the devoted things, so that you will bring about your own destruction in taking any of them. Otherwise you will make the camp of Israel liable to destruction and bring trouble on it. All the silver and gold, the articles of bronze and iron, are sacred to the Lord and must go into his treasury." Pick it up with their 20 there, would you?
Sure. When the trumpet sounded, the people shouted. And at the sound of the trumpet, when the people gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So every man charged was straight in, and they took the city. They devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring her out, and all who belong to her, in accordance to your oath to her." So the young men who had done the spying went and brought out Rahab and her father and mother and the brothers and all who belonged to her. They brought out her entire family and put them in a place outside of the camp of Israel. Then they burned the whole city and everything in it. They put silver and gold and the articles of bronze and iron into the treasury of the Lord's house. But Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute with her family and all who belonged to her, because she hid the men Joshua sent as spies to Jericho, and she lives among the Israelites to this day. All this time Joshua pronounced this solemn oath: "Cursed before the Lord is the man who undertakes to rebuild the city of Jericho. At this cost of the firstborn son he will lay its foundations. At the cost of his youngest will he set up the gates." So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land.
So there's a lot of going on in chapter 5 and middle of chapter 5 and all of chapter 6.
Yeah.
And it's all pertaining to Jericho and Rahab and the spies, and how Rahab was spared with everything that belonged to her, her mother, her father, and everything that that belonged to her and her entire family. But if you remember, or refresh our audience, why exactly Rahab the prostitute, her life was spared.
Her life was spared for the fact that she was able, as we look back, she was able to help Joshua basically take Jericho.
Sure.
And she was able to do that just by leaving and allowing his spies to stay with her in her house. So, and that was in chapter 2, and throughout chapter 2, basically she did that and helped out Joshua before they took over Jericho and crossing the Jordan Sea and then into Jericho itself. So because of her actions being obligated,
right,
she was spared, and the Lord granted her the to live and live with the Israelites.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where it's, at this time God was kind of like, you do something for me, I'll take care of the rest for you.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, if you prove yourself worthy, and you prove yourself that you're willing to go on the limb for me, I'm going to do everything for you.
Absolutely.
And that's what God is amazing. What's one of the things that makes him so amazing? One of many things.
Absolutely.
Is that he's willing to. You do your job, and he'll take care of the rest.
Sure.
Sure.
And
So from there, we found, so the city was brought down, and now a little sudden change of direction here in chapter 7 looks like, right? And I'll see, this is Achan's sin, or Achan's?
Achan's sin. Are we gonna, you want to go ahead and, alright. But the Israelites acted unfaithfully in regard to the voted things. Achan, son of Kari, the son of Zari, the son of Zereth, and the tribe of Judah, took some of them, so the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Berthavine, to the east of Bethel, and told them, "Go up to spy out the region." So the men went up and spied out Ai. When they returned to Joshua, they said, "Not all the people will have to go against Ai. Send 2,000 or 3,000 men to take it, and do not weary all the people, for the few men there are." So about 3,000 men went up, but they were routed by men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them, and chased the Israelites from the city gate as far as the stone quarries, and struck them down into the slopes. At the hearts of the people melted and became like water. Go ahead and pick up at 6 there, Brother Jim.
Then Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord, remaining there till evening. The elders of Israel did the same, and sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, "Ah, sovereign Lord, why do you ever bring the people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites, to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of the Jordan. O Lord, what can I say now? That Israel has been routed by its enemies. The Canaanites and the other Canaanites and the other people of the country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your own great name?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. What are you doing down on your face? Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things that have stolen. They have lied. They have been put to their own possessions. This is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turn their backs and run because they have been made liable to destruction. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction." Brother Travis, would you like to carry on that?
I sure will. "Go consecrate the people. Tell them, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow. For this is what the Lord God of Israel says. That which is devoted among you, O Israel. You cannot stand against your enemies until you remove it. In the morning, present yourselves tribe by tribe, and the tribe the Lord takes shall come forward, clang by clang. The clang that the Lord takes shall come forward, family by family, and the family that the Lord takes shall come forward, man by man. And he who is caught with devoted things shall be destroyed by fire among all that belongs to him. He has violated the covenant of the Lord and has done it disgraceful thing in Israel." Early the next morning, Israel came forward, tribe by tribe. Judah was taken. The clans of Judah came forward, and he took the Zephonites. He had claimed to the Zephonites, come forward, and the family of Zerah was taken. Joshua and his family came forward, and a man by man, Achan son of Kari, the son of Zuri, the son of Zereth, of the tribe of Judah, was taken. Then Joshua said to Achan, "My son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and give him the praise. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me. Achan replied, It's true, I have sinned against the Lord of the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I saw in the plunder a beautiful robe and from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver and vintage of gold, weighed 50 shekels. I covered them and took them and hid them in the ground inside my tent with silver underneath. Go ahead and finish this off there, Brother Jim.
All right. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and there was hidden in the tent with the silver underneath. They took the things from the tent, brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites, and spread them out before the Lord. Then Joshua, together with all of Israel, took Achan and the son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, and the gold wedge, his sons and daughter, his cattle, donkeys, and sheep, his tent, and all that he had, to the valley of Achan. Joshua said, Why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. Then all of Israel stoned him, and after they had stoned the rest, they burned them. Over Achan they heaped up a large pile of rocks, which remain to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. Therefore, that place has been called the Valley of Achan ever since.
Wow.
So a little change of plans here with such glory.
A little? I say it's more like a 360, wouldn't you?
We changed everything up. Like everything was.
Wow.
One side, God was very, happy and pleased with the way Joshua was carrying his people and taking over Jericho and with Rahab, and all of a sudden he finds there's a little blip on the radar there with Achan. Something's going on here, and this dude is in the way.
In the way.
He's
all up in the way.
He's all up in there. So did some thievery. Looks like he stole some stuff and
stole the gold wedge,
the shekels, and at the bottom here, 5 pounds is what that is. That would be classified.
Is that what that would mean?
That's what 50 shekels would be 5 pounds worth. So, and that's what it says at the bottom here in the fine prints at the bottom.
So you said 200 shekels.
Yeah,
that's about 50 shekels.
That's unbelievable.
200 shekels is 50 shekels.
So I'd say justice was served, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
He got stoned.
Yeah.
So what can we do to relate what we've read today so far? I mean, a lot of things we can relate in a sense.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess in a way, God is not only striving us to be more and more like Him, but God, He wants Joshua's everywhere.
We should have more Joshua's.
We should have
take
more
over and conquer things and have that drive and determination that the Lord gives us.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Joshua mean conqueror?
Is that what it means?
I have no idea. I was asking, but I think it does something along that lines.
Well, I mean, that's what he does, and that's all he just wins the whole time.
He does, man.
That's just it.
Like,
he's a winner all the way for God. He's a winner for God, man.
Absolutely.
And he's on the right team, and he makes sure everything's right, and he makes his people, he drives his people, and he gives them that push that they need to get things done.
He was kind of upset at Achan too. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you being this way?
He confronted him and took care of business.
And I think it was kind of cool the way, God wanted them to, do it.
Yeah.
Go through each tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Go through, I don't know what he said now. He said go through each tribe, go through, what was it? Go through each tribe.
Yeah.
And go through each clan.
Yep.
Go through each family. Go through each man. And find out who the idiot was.
Yep. I mean, he basically just went through it all.
And I'm not exactly sure what a clan is.
Clan is just like a small group.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that pretty much wraps up 7. And Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we move on, or?
We hit the points there, so we've got one more chapter to go here, and
we're talking about AI apparently. Remember, we were talking about AI earlier.
Right.
So
now we're getting to this point where he took over Jericho and took care of business. So now what's next?
AI.
Would you like to take us into that?
I can.
Sweet.
All right, chapter 8, guys. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army."
Once again, he's already in there jumping into it.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid and do not be discouraged.
See, Brother Jim pointed that out. So
Straight out of the gate. He just tells you straight ahead. Just don't be worried.
Exactly. I think that deserves to be read again. What do you think?
Let's do it again.
All right. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up to attack Ai. For I have delivered into your hands the king of Ai, his people, and the city and his land. You shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho, the king, except you may carry off its plunder, and livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush behind the city." So Joshua and the whole army moved out to attack Ai. He chose 30,000 of his best fighting men and sent them out at night with those orders: "Listen carefully. You are to set an ambush behind the city. Don't go very far from it. All of you be on the alert, and I and all of the others, those with me, will advance the city, and when the men come against us, as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us, and we will have lured them away from the city, for they will say, 'They are running away from us, and as they did before.' So when we flee them, we rise up from the ambush and take the city. The Lord your God will give it into your hand. When you have taken the city, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded. See to it you have my orders." Go ahead and take 9 there.
Sure. Then Joshua sent them off, and they went into the place of ambush, and lay in wait between Bethel and Ai, to the west of Ai. But Joshua spent the night with the people. Early the next morning, Joshua mustered his men, and he and the leaders of Israel marched before them to Ai. Then the entire force that was with him marched up and approached the city and arrived in front of it. They set up camp north of Ai, with the valley between them and the city. Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in an ambush between Bethel and Ai. To the west of the city, they had soldiers take up their positions. All those in the camp to the north of the city, and the ambush to the west of it. That night Joshua went into the valley. When the king of Ai saw this, he and all the men of the city hurried out early in the morning to meet Israel in battle at a certain place overlooking the Arabah. But he did not know that an ambush had been set against him behind the city. Joshua and all of Israel let themselves be driven back before them, and they fled toward the desert. All the men of Ai were called to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua, and they were lured away from the city. Not a man remained in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open and went into pursuit of Israel.
Well,
alright, so that's so far in the book of Joshua from chapter 1 to 8. So, what do you think?
I think that, like I said, man, Joshua had to step up to the plate. I think he did a very good job of stepping up to the plate.
For sure. And, God is, that's his right-hand man. Joshua is his man. So,
Yeah,
he appointed Joshua to take care of some things. And, between, conquering some towns and confronting some people, in order to get God's will to be done.
But I guess the thing that stands out to me so far in these 8 chapters is the fact that between like middle of 5 and all of 6, just the fact that you see Jericho as this big, huge, awesome city that was brought to its knees.
Yeah, easily. Just by them going around it for 7 days.
And
sounding trumpets.
You got to look
and
at it.
on the 7th day doing it 7 times.
You got to look at it this way, though. I mean, the people of Jericho thought they were stupid.
I thought Ai was interesting just because of the ambush.
Yeah?
It was just interesting to see, how they set it up. They set it up perfectly where they could drive them out and they come from the backside and take over the city.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely, definitely.
But nonetheless, the main purpose that we're getting at here is having more Joshuas, right?
Exactly. That is our main point. Yes, that is our main point. To have more Joshuas there, Brother Jim. Exactly.
So what would you like our viewers to do
for
this? How are you testing our viewers here?
How am I going to test them? Let's see. I encourage you guys not only, read Joshua with us, but read Joshua as yourselves. And, I have a challenge for them, Brother Jim.
Sure, what's up, brother?
The challenge is try to strive to be more like a Joshua.
And what you can do with that is email us, with both of our emails at the end of the video. Email us what you're thinking, how can you be more like Joshua? How can you be more courageous, and what in your life is feeling like Jericho and you need to break the walls down?
Exactly.
What do you need to do to take down your Jericho in your life?
And we will deal with the guys per se. We'll talk to the guys. Brother Jim and myself will talk to the guys. But our significant others, which I would feel more comfortable with if they talk to the opposite sex. So we'll have to get their opinion we'll have to get their approval first. But you talk to girls, you can talk to my fiance, or you can talk to his girlfriend Amber and my fiance Katrina. So we'll definitely tell you more about that.
And also, guys, real quick, feel free to give us ideas, however whatever you want us to do.
Sure.
Some topical ideas. This isn't just about the Old Testament. We're going to do New Testament stuff. We're going to do topical stuff. Whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to learn about, by all means, let us know. Email us, let us know, and give us feedback, because that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
So.
And if you have anything,
prayer requests, also email your prayer requests. If there's anything we can pray about, we'll pray over them for you. We promise you that.
And praise reports.
Praise reports, even if, we'll pray over it, but keep us updated on what's going on with those prayers in your life.
Exactly.
What's going on with the situations. We pray that God answers your prayers accordingly.
Absolutely. Definitely.
And but that's what we have here for now, and we'll continue this on the next video cast. I want to thank you guys so much. I'm Brother Jim.
And I'm Brother Travis.
And we'll see you next time. God bless you guys.